let's kind of gear this down, give some, real focused advice. What would you say is like the one trait that any young entrepreneur needs to have?
Oh, that's actually a really good question, because I've never narrowed it down to one trait. But I'll tell you the one thing I think is probably the most important that I've seen from not only just successful trading students, but people I've done work with, is the resiliency factor of, this is like wealth. I think being successful is really an accumulation of numerous years worth of work. And you're talking years and years, right? And so during those years, it's never like a linear thing where it's like, okay, this goes well, I close this deal, and blah, 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 blah. There's like this huge kind of thing where not everything's just always bad and then it becomes good, but oftentimes you may start off and everything's really good and then it becomes bad, then it becomes great, and then it becomes really, really bad, and then you're like almost bankrupt, and then you're rich, and then there's like this huge kind of roller coaster as you're kind of smoothing things out. And that resiliency factor is really important. Like, can you get up and pound the rock every day? Like, can you get up and say, today's a fresh day, I got to go out and do what I do, even though I got my ass kicked yesterday? And I think that's hard. It's even hard for me sometimes, because, you have a bad day, you just get your ass kicked, and then you're like, you got to wake up and be fresh and put a smile on your face and talk to people? I mean, it doesn't make sense. But that's what you sometimes have to do, is like, get yourself off the ground. I mean, you're going to get knocked down, but it's 100% your choice, and the manner in which you get up. And that resiliency is going to be huge, because there is just, the learning curve is so steep, but the ups and downs is crazy. And there are things that come and happen that you can't even predict sometimes. Like, you have health scares, family problems, there's like your friend could die, whatever. I've seen all sorts of stuff, right? And those are also things that impact your learning and your business. And those are the things that make your story, right? Your struggle helps make your story, and it helps define really who you are. And so, you have to embrace what all that stuff that you go through, and I always tell myself, like, my struggle is my story. And when I tell that story to the world, after I've made it, it's going to be this fucking awesome epic thing like Braveheart, right? Or like Gladiator. Like, it's going to be this thing, I put some pumped up motivational music, but that struggle is your story. And I always, say that to myself in the morning, like when I'm having just, setbacks or whatever. It's like, my struggle is my story, and there's nothing more dangerous in the world than a man with a purpose, and I think that's going to be the number one thing that kind of gets you going.
I love that. My struggle is my story. So resiliency, can it be learned, or is it something that just people have?
Yeah, it can be learned, because that's just a mindset, right? I mean, we have sometimes shitty mindsets, and then we change it to good mindsets. And so anybody can pattern and refocus their mind at some point. It's just breaking the negative feedback cycle of, like, when you have bad news, it's really easy to get down on yourself. I'm going to go out and get drunk, or I'm going to do this to take my mind off it. I see people play video games, numb themselves by watching TV, all this stuff. And so that's like your feedback cycle of coping and how you get over things. And you need to break that, right? Having the positive mindset is essentially just building a habit, right? Building a habit. And so even your resiliency can become like a habit. It's something that, you go through and you do, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And it may not have been who you are, but it can definitely be something of who you've become. And I think that's just part of anything. It's that in itself is a skill. A lot of people just think of, like, when they think of skill, they think of, oh, this person knows how to do this or that, or he's really smart, he's really intelligent, he's got this IQ, or he's good with people. But hard work is a skill, and resiliency is a skill, and all of those things are also skills. It's not just, hey, I'm good at computers or marketing or trading.